You are listening to Why Such a Fuss podcast, sponsored by CVG Solutions, with your host, Christina Vanini-Goodchild, and guests.
Today I have with me James Robson, a data protection officer and speaker, who is returning to the show. So welcome back, James.
Thank you, Christina. Really great to come back.
Oh, good. A pleasure to have you. Now, you have had a distinguished career, and you had the pleasure to work for a political party as the data protection officer. So I wonder if you would be open to share with our audience how data protection law works in the political arena. So what I mean by that is, why can they use our personal data? Why a political party can use our data? To what extent they can use it? How do they use it? And is it legal? And also, what kind of personal data do they, a political party collects about us?
Yeah, sure. So the most obvious starting point here will be the Electoral register in the UK, which is a record of about 42 million people, and it's collected by local government. And that data is shared into databases that can be used by political parties, by elected representatives, so your MPs, your councillors, those kinds of things. And also credit reference agencies are allowed to use the Electoral register as well to do checks and monitoring on you. And you're likely to have at least your name and your location, as in your home address, on there, amongst other things. And that's often carved up into what's known as mosaic lists, which is certain types of demographics. You might be of a certain age, you may be in a certain area. Those kinds of things are on there. And the Electoral register doesn't tell people how you vote, only that you have voted. So it doesn't give you the I voted Labour, Conservative, Lib Dems, whatever. It just says that you did vote. So you can tell maybe over the longer term whether a person is a non-voter. So that's interesting. And you're unlikely, if you are deemed to be a non-voter, to have any political party try and persuade you because they don't think they can. So let's take the Electoral register. Why is a political party allowed access to that data? So it's written into something called the Political Parties Act. I'm going to get that wrong, so I'm going to look it up in front of me. It's called the Representation of the People Act from 2001. Okay. And if you are a registered political party, that gives you a legal access to what's known as the marked register. Now, that is the full register. That does mean that if you opt out of being on the Electoral register, the political parties will still get access to your data. Doesn't matter if you have opted out, they still have legal access to your data. And that confuses a lot of people.
Yes.
Consent is not required. You do not need to give a political party your consent for them to use your data from the Electoral register. People do get quite confused about that. Again, that register, that marked register, full register, and it identifies your contact details and people on whether they voted. And access is allowed for something called democratic engagement purposes. Okay. Political parties are not allowed to share that data with anyone else. They're not allowed to sell that data. They don't sell that data. They are allowed to check it if they receive donations. Anyone donating to a political party is not allowed to donate if they are not on the Electoral register. And so political parties are allowed to check to make sure you are on the Electoral register
So,
to allow that donation.
can they then sort of match those two sets of data? You know, I've donated, say, for example, they can then match my name against the electrical, so, right, you know, she voted. So they can then start inferring also, do you know what I mean, things out of it, can they?
Yeah, there will be inferences there made out of those activities. So political parties will go door knocking and asking you, who do you think you're most likely to vote for in the next general election? And if you say, I don't want to tell you, they get a question where they say, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to vote for the Conservative Party? You go like, oh, okay, great, thank you very much, 7. And then that will go onto their database, their electoral registered database, say this person at this address is a 7 in favour of voting for the Tory party. And so, yes, that is recorded. And so they do a lot of campaigning, a lot of door knocking, all political parties. So there's a lot of data that is collected around that stuff and matched. Yeah. And then they can say, well, Christina donated as well. So maybe if we are the Conservative Party, we will knock on your door during a general election to help you to make sure you do get up and go out to the polling station to vote the Tory party. Obviously, you know, this is all made up, but that's what they do. Yeah, they will then profile you and say, our campaigners will knock on your door to make sure you do get out and vote because we think you will vote for us. Yes, they do that.
By the way, I do not contribute to any political party.
No, it was just a fabricated example. Yes. Sorry, Christina.
No, it's all right. It's all right. So, okay. So, but obviously, can they share this information with anyone? You know, can they retain it for forever? You know, what's GDPR will apply to them as well, won't they? So they can't keep it forever, surely. They must have some kind of retention.
Well, the electoral register doesn't really have a retention period around it, and of course is ever growing and getting bigger. If you can opt out of being on a political party's electoral register, you can ask them, please do not profile me, please do not use my data. Now, that won't necessarily mean you are deleted from that database, but they legally all have to stop using it for any sort of campaigning activities or profiling activities.
So the data on the electrical register, it doesn't have retention, it's there. But, the data that they collect, for example, like you said, they come in and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to vote for Tory, and then it's 7. That is not on the electrical. That must have a retention period. They can't keep that forever.
Well, I mean, it's still associated to you on their database, so there isn't really a retention period around the extra bits and bobs of information.
Yeah.
Now, what you can do is just ask them to forget you, and they will delete that. They will delete that data. So they won't necessarily know what happened in the past around your preferences.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that's built in. But one of the keys here is, well, what does the term democratic engagement mean?
Yeah.
And there's this a bit of a, it's written into the Data Protection Act of 2018, the meaning of democratic engagement. And you can use personal data for your political party for democratic representation, for communicating with electors, with voters, for surveying and opinion gathering. So you can ask everybody, what do you think of this, X, Y, Z. Campaigning, you're allowed to use it for campaigning activities. Activities to increase voter turnout. We know Christina didn't vote in the last general election. We would like Christina to vote. We will come and knock on your door to try and get you to vote or send you a letter. Now, one of the things here, also in the Representation of the People Act, is that, and this is a bit of a, it's written into the Data Protection Act of 2018, the meaning of democratic engagement. And you can use personal data for your political party for democratic representation, for communicating with electors, with voters, for surveying and opinion gathering. So you can ask everybody, what do you think of this, X, Y, Z. Campaigning, you're allowed to use it for campaigning activities. Activities to increase voter turnout. We know Christina didn't vote in the last general election. We would like Christina to vote. We will come and knock on your door to try and get you to vote or send you a letter. Now, one of the things here, also in the Representation of the People Act, is that even if you have asked a political party to delete you, they are still allowed to send you one piece of campaign material in the post during a general election, and without consent. So political parties, if they are doing political campaigning and political advertising, they do need your consent, but they don't need consent for one piece of material coming through the post. And a lot of people get very concerned about that. I didn't give you my consent for sending me this information about your party and your policies. I'm going to complain to the Information Commissioner's office because of this. Well, they don't need your consent for it. Yeah.
So it doesn't go anywhere. The commissioner just look at it. Yeah, off it goes.
Well, yeah. I remember because in my career I was the data protection officer for the Labour Party for just over 2 years there, and the Information Commissioner office did. They did put out an FAQ, a frequently asked questions website around the general election of 2024, because people would make that mistake and really push the point, saying, I didn't give consent, I want action taken against Labour, against political parties. Yeah.
Oh wow, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, other things that you probably expect personal data to be used for would be for supporting the work of elected representatives. And we may need to ask, well, what is an elected representative? So it's a member of Parliament, a member of the House of Commons, who is doing casework. So any use of the personal data is actually for democratic engagement purposes. And if we lean on the GDPR, democratic engagement is actually allowed to be used under public interest under GDPR Article 6. So they get a bit of a pass there. So any use of personal data by a member of Parliament to conduct casework, to answer lobbyists, to answer inquiries from just the general public, it's all under public interest, democratic engagement purposes. So it's all under that. Now, what they're not allowed to do is then go, well, this piece of casework, because I'm a Labour MP, let's put this up against the Electoral register, and then let's campaign up against them because of that interest that they have, because that inquiry. They're not allowed to do that. There are something called IPSA rules. I forget what the I is. It's a Parliamentary Standards Authority that oversees that. So it would be a misuse of data they have legal access to if it then becomes political, because it's in their role as an elected representative. You are representing the people. You are doing things on behalf of the people in your role. You're not allowed to then campaign to them as Labour. Can't do that. There's that real kind of dividing line.
Okay.
One's legal, one then suddenly not legal if you cross the line. Yeah.
So it's good to know that there is some kind of standard or regulation, regulators that supervise that. So that's good. That keeps them in check. And I think it's important there is one. Do you know what I mean? So absolutely. Because you don't want them to step the boundaries. Okay, well, this is really interesting. Anything else that you would like to share with us on this subject that you think is juicy and nice to know?
Well, it's pretty boring, really. When you come down to it. I mean, let's take political parties have members. And so if you sign up to be a member, then the lawful basis for use of that data is then contractual.
Yeah.
There's the expectation that, I've signed up. I want access to these things. I might want to campaign with you. Yeah. And then if you are a member of a political party and you are going campaigning, then you have access to, when you go out campaigning. It is very, very restrictive. the data of the people who you are campaigning to. So maybe in an app on your phone, and then you can go and knock on my door or your door to say, in the next general election, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to vote Labour or Lib Dem or whatever? And then on the app on the phone, it'll be recorded through the app. So you're given access to some of that data for the members and volunteers that go and campaigning on your behalf as a political party. So, that sort of access, it's concerning in some ways, but that's how it's been done forever. Ever since there has ever been an electoral law or campaigning, yeah.
But also, there has to be, a balance, because obviously, political parties, they have to be allowed to, promote, campaign, to get voters. Otherwise we would not have a democratic system. So, and also, people have, rights. So there has to be a balance between the two. It can't just be, no, you can't use it. That would not be practical. We would not be able to operate as a democratic society, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I absolutely right. And, the law goes further and says kind of political activities are legal under public interest in GDPR. Things like asking for voting preferences, that 1 to 10 scale, asking if there's any kind of local or national topics of interest, what concerns you. I remember our last chat was around digital ID. And so if you're on the doorstep and asking somebody about, how are things polling for Labour in terms of digital ID, you're allowed to ask those kinds of questions and maybe put it up against this person said this, and this is what they think. So you're kind of allowed to do that stuff. If you're allowed to ask people if they want direct contact with an elected representative. So if you're a political party and you say, Christina, your concern around digital ID, would you be happy if we shared your data with the Secretary of State that is proposing digital ID, so you can have a direct line into that department? You're allowed to kind of pass that stuff on, allowed to ask the question if it's okay. There's a couple of nuances in there that may seem like, is that right or not? But it does get granular enough to be okay, I think. If somebody is saying, I'm interested in this policy, I'm not interested in this policy, I don't like it. You can't say, well, would you like to join Labour or the political party in power? So you have a say, because becoming a member of a political party, you do have a say, and you do have also internal voting rights on, let's say, the most recent thing in Labour was the deputy leadership election. So if you become a member of a political party, you do have a vote on those kinds of things as well. So, that's a use of your personal data to allow the voting for you to vote in an internal campaign.
Yeah.
So lots of things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Wow, this has been extremely insightful and certainly an eye-opener. So thank you very much, James, for sharing with us. And also thank you for joining us today. Now, before you go, would you like to tell the audience how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. I mean, if you want to put ex-data protection officer for Labour into Google, then you'll probably find me, or just DPO for Labour, and then, my previous job will probably pop up. But yeah, LinkedIn is the place for me. Feel free to DM.
Fantastic. And if you would like to get in touch with me, I can be found on LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram. Just search for CVG Solutions, or alternatively email me at info@cvgsolutions.co.uk. Thank you for listening.